Today's daf is daf Chof Beis. We are going to be in Chof Aleph, Amud Aleph, by the Mishnah. The Mishnah says like this, just to give Akdama, after the previous Mishnah speaks about the halacha of shein and regel, different, that shein and regel are muad. So now the Mishnah is going to explain when a dog is chayav for niski shein and niski regel. So the halacha is like this. Hakelev, with regards to a dog, v'hagadi, or let's say a goat, shekafzu menesh hagad, they jumped from the rooftop, and b'shavru es hakelim, and they broke kelim while doing so. They jumped from the rooftop, and they broke kelim while jumping. So Allah is mishalim es hakelim. No one has to pay the full cost of the damage of the kelim. Why? Because these animals are a muad for jumping. Since jumping is a very normal thing that they do, so they jumped, and then in turn they went in and broke kelim. They have to pay for it. Now, the next case, now the case is like this. A dog that took a cake, this cake had been baked directly on hot coals. So there's hot coals over there. He took up the cake and he grabbed it. And he went to a stack of grain to bazetzach over there, to eat it over there. Now what happened? While he was eating the cake, while he was eating this chocolate donut, which was very hot, it was so hot that it ignited the gadish. Right, this is like Disney, like cartoon movies. So ala harara mishalnas. All the story. Exactly. Ala harara mishalnas of shalom. So like this. For the actual cake that the dog took. So since the dog that he took it from the direct hot coals. So again, no, listen. So now he ate the harara and he now he burnt the gadish on fire. So he has to pay a nezek shalom for the cake because it's a direct damage. Shame. The dog went ahead and ate the cake. He has to pay for it. However, in regards to the damage of the stack of grain, that he pays only a half a nezek. Now, later on, the Gemara is going to explain that the reason he has to pay a chatzi nezek is because it's a din shreiris. If you remember, we said din shreiris is a din of chatzi nezek, or is it because it's a mishuna, and for mishuna we pay chatzi nezek din kenan. That's the Gemara is going to explain. Is it mitzad chatzi? Is it mitzad din shreiris, or mitzad a mishuna by din kenan? So you pay half a damage. Okay, so that's what the Mishnah said. Nachamal, that the dog or a goat that jumped from the roof and it broke kalim, so he has to pay a nezek shalom because jumping is muadin. A dog that took cakes and now went to eat it. He wanted his privacy, so he went and ate it in the field and burnt down the field. So for the harari, he has to pay a nezek shalom, and the gadish he pays a chatz nezek. Okay, so now the Gemara says like this: time at the cost. So the reason the owner has to pay the full cost of the damage is because the animal jumped off the roof and broke the keli. Well, what if, let's say, the animal would have fell off the roof? So putter. Then he would have been putter, despite the chiyuv to keep them from climbing onto the roof and jumping down from there. So he has to make sure that his dog doesn't jump on the roof. Now let's say whether the dog went ahead and jumped from the roof. He fell. So the mashman be putter. Alma. So what does the Tana hold? So if the beginning was pshia with negligence, meaning he was careless or even, let's say, intention to cause the damage, and however it was safe of minutes, in the end it was an accident, potter, he would need potter, because in the case the owner was careless in allowing the animal to go on the rooftop. But since it didn't jump off the roof, or rather fell accidentally, he is potter, right? Because what was the lashon? Now what if they would have fell? Would have been potter. Even though it's pshia in the beginning. But however, since it was safe by this is potter. Okay. The Gemara says, Tanya Namachi also learned in a brayso, if a dog or a goat jump from a rooftop and broke kelim mishalem nezek shalom, he has to pay nezek shalom. Now, naflu, but if they fell, pturin, they are potter. So the Gemara says, this works well according to the opinion that holds that when the beginning is negligence and then there's accidents, so the one who caused the damage is exempt. But according to the one who says that it's chayiv, what are you going to say? So the it seems from this brisa that chilosim b'pshiyim v'sefer menis is pater. So my answer is like this: Kegoyin mikarvi kelim magabe kelim. So the brisa is talking about where the kelim were brought close to the wall by their owners. Now the chikofta b'kvitza. So when the animal jumped off the roof, loy nafla layu. So when the animal jumped off the roof, an ordinary leap did not fall on top of them, and the kelim broke because the animal fell and didn't jump. So the chikof tzibikvitza lo nafla alayu. So when the animal jumped off the roof, in ordinary leap, they did not fall on top of them, and the kelim broke because the animal fell and didn't jump. Afilu tchilasim shilik, and since in ordinary circumstance no damage should happen, this is a case that did not even begin with negligence. Since the damage was caused by falling, so he didn't even fall. He meant to go ahead and leap and jump, and
if he jump, he's going to be careful
not to jump on the kelim. So he mamash like fell. He slipped and he fell. So that's not even chilasim b'shia. It's mamash ha'inus. You can even say sometimes a person is obligated to pay, even in the case where the animal fell from the wall of the owner's house. Why? You find the case where the wall was unstable, and the owner was a pishen, allowing the animal to go up on the roof due to the danger of the wall collapsing. My kneel. So the Gemara, what is the reason for this? Is it because it should have occurred to him that the bricks may fall from the wall and break the kelim? So you say but ultimately no bricks fell when the full and instead the animal fell. So this is chilasim shiva sefer bein yesud. The Gemara says lo yitzricha b'keisel tzar. It's not necessary. The halacha is with regards talking about a case of a narrow wall, which case is clear that when they climb up there, they will fall, and this is why he's chayav for the damage they're causing by the fall. If a dog or a jump from below to something that was above them, and thereby causing damage, the owners are pater, because this is a mishuna. It's not typical behavior. However, but if they jump from above to below, then chayavim, the owners are chayav to pay nezek shalom. This is a normal thing that animals do. If a person or a chicken jumped, a person or an animal or the tiny jumped and broke something, it doesn't matter how they did it, chayavim the fight. Because what? Yeah, chayavim nezek shalom. That's the ben nezek shalom. So now the Gemara asks, "Well, Tanya, we learned that a brisa, if a dog or a goat jump, regardless of whether they jump from above to below or below from above, it's pater." So it's a mamash stira. So talking about the papa interpreted the following: the ofich meifach, the manner of movement were changed from the typical manner of movement for their species. Kalba beskira begada besricha, which means the dog moved by leaping, or the goat moved by climbing. So the Gemara says, "Yofi, you might put why the owner's pater? They cause damage." So the Gemara says, "Pater nezek shalom." What he means is that he's pater from nezek shalom. However, when the chatzi nezek is chayav, as the halacha is that any cause which is a mishuna, as we said many times, is chayav chatzi nezek mitzad keren. The Mishnah taught hakelev shenotel with regards to a dog that took a cake that had been directly on hot coals, went to a stack of grain to eat it, and it ate the cake at the same time, ignited the stack of grain with the coal that had been taken along the cake. So the owner of the dog has to pay nezek shalom, and he pays a chatzi nezek for the gadish. Itmar, so now this is a famous machlekes. If you remember, this is going to bring you back to yeshiva days. There we go. Now, with regard to damage caused by fire lit by a person spreading to a location other than where it was lit, so the Gemara now cites some machlekes. Itmar Rabbi Yechon Amar Ishay. Rabbi Yechon says, the liability of damage caused by his fire is mishum chitzov, is similar to throwing arrows, meaning that the damage caused by a fire in a location other than where it was lit is comparable to damage caused by an arrow shot at a distant target. All right, so that's the machlekes. The machlekes is, why is a person chayiv for niskei eish? When you light a fire, so Rabbi Yechon says mishum chitzov, that when a person lights fire in his rishus, and this fire went and damaged somebody else's domain, Teres Chayiv Mitzad Adam Amazik. Like a person who throws an arrow from his Rishus and went to another Rishus, you can't say that, you can't say, like, even though it left your Rishus, but the fact is, it's like an arrow that's Chayiv. So that's the word. So, are you Chayiv either Mitzad Chitzav, just, or Rish Lakish Rishon B'mayne? Or, the Chayiv is, Rish Lakish says that the Chayiv that a person, B'niskeish, is within of B'mayne Amazik. Just like a person is Chayiv that his Sheir or his Bur should not damage, because he was a Pesheach, so too, a person's fire, the damage, he's Chayiv, because his Pesheach that didn't guard. Okay, so now there's a big, obviously, they're not committed, but how do you look at Eish? Meglin says you look at Ishim Mishum Chitzav. Just like a person's arrow, when you shoot an arrow for your Rishus, you're Chayiv. So to a fire, when you go ahead and light a fire and it goes into your friend's Rishus, you're Chayiv. Shlokish says no. Shlokish says it's Mishum B'mayne, and he's responsible for his damage, that he's responsible for damage. There's like any of his animals or damage, he's Chayiv. So to here. Now, Fred the Gemara, Rish Lakish, my time of the Elmer Rabbi. What's the reason why Rish Lakish doesn't want to learn like Rabbi Yishmael? So Amalach, so the Gemara answers, he could have said to you that l'cheira, fire is not comparable to an arrow. Why? Because chitza mikeichei ka'ozel. An arrow, at the end of the day, proceeds as a result of a direct force.
To pick itself up, like...
Right. You went ahead, direct force, boom, and you shot it and it knocked. However, the fire does not proceed as a result of the direct force, but requires a wind to carry you from the location where it was lit to the location. So you have an extra force by the arrow. It's the direct force from your kaifei goes in the damage. The fire, you lit the fire, and then you need to have a ruach matsuya to come and bring it to the next location.
If the ham doesn't shoot itself, the shooter does.
No, but the gun will be probably mitzad chitzei. The gun, yeah.
Whereas Aish, it's said what he says here. It says, like, it doesn't go because of Kayach. Once you light it,
exactly.
Exactly.
Right. Rabbi Yechanan, yeah, exactly. So Rabbi Yechanan, my time alone with Rish Lakish. So why does Rabbi Yechanan want to learn Rish Lakish? Mishum B'mayne. Avalach B'mayne is B'mamashay. He says this. In regards to the money, one's fire is not comparable to a person's money because his property, it's a tangible substance. It's a mamash. A fire is not tangible. Let's be mamasha. So since each one has something that the other one doesn't have.
Yeah.
Okay. And Tanan, Gemara now wants to settle this machlekes. Akela shalab harara. Learned the Mishnah with regards to a dog. I took a cake that had been baked, like we said, directly on hot coals, and went to stack of grain to eat it, and ate the cake, and at the same time ignited the stack of the grain with the coal that I had taken along with the cake. The owner of the dog must pay the nezek shalem, and he must pay for chatzi nezek of the stack of grain. So now, according to the Mandamur holds, well, who is this? Rabbi Yechanan says, Eish is mitzad chitza, mitzad arrows, so chitza of the kelevu. So now it makes sense that the fire is similar to the arrows of the dog. And therefore, you must pay chatzi nezek of the damage caused by the dog's force. Again, so if you say, according to the Mandamur, it says, Isha Mishum Chitzir, so now you can understand why, in the case of the Gadish, you make a person chayav a chatzi nezek. Because it's chitzir de kelevu. It's like a kelev that threw arrows, and that you make the owner pay a chatzi nezek like any din of tzeiros. But according to the Mandamur, it says Eish Mishum B'mayne. Why are you making the person chayiv for the Gadish? Hi Eish La B'mayne the Baal Kelev, who the Eish is not the money of the Kelev, but it's the owner of the Hararam. So if he's misad arrows, so you could say that it's like the dog shooting arrows which that will be chayiv v'chatzi nezik. But if you say mitzad memoini, the money, it's not the dog's money. Let's say it's the owner of the charada that l'chir should be chayiv, or whatever. It's his memoini. So the Gemara says could have said to you, what are we dealing here? We're dealing with a case that the dog took the coal and did not place the cake on the stack. Rather, the idea it threw it on the stack. So for the cake of the dog that he ate, that he used to pay half the damage. And for the specific spot of the stack of grain that was damaged by throwing of the coal there, so that he has to pay chatzi nezek. Right? Because we say that, well, that's a case of tzreiris. Tzreiris, he pays a chatzi nezek. So here also, by throwing the coals on the gadish, it's like tzreiris that you have to pay a chatzi nezek. And Bala Gadish Kuli Potter, and he says, yeah, in the stack of grain as a whole, he's Potter, because the chiyuv for damage caused by the spread of the fire is due to the similarity of the property. And in that case, Memene, and in that case, it was not his Memene, it was the Balachar of Noen. Now, Rabbi Yechon can explain the Mishnah in more of a straightforward way. The Anche Anuchi, it's talking about a case where the dog placed the cake with the coal directly on the stack of grain in order to eat the cake. So now, the owner of the dog has to pay the full damage for the cake and for the specific spot where the coal was put down. As these cases, the damage were caused directly by the dog, while in regards to the stack of grain, he has to pay half the damage because, in Rabbi Yechon's opinion, one is higher for chatzi nezek or by fire due to the eish, to the chitze. The damage of the rest of the stock of grain is an indirect result of the dog's force, and therefore it has the halacha of tzreiris. Toshma, come, I'll bring a raya from the Mishnah. There's a Mishnah later on that says like this: Gomal, Toin, Pishtan, over B'Shus Harabim. Case of a camel that was laden with flax and was passing through Rishus Harabim. Nichnasa Pishtan Techa Chanus B'Dolkut, and its flax extended into a store at the edge of the Rishus Harabim, and the Dolkut B'Neder Shalchenveni, and the flax of fire caught from the lamp caught fire in the store belonging to the storekeeper. And what happened? As a result of the burning flax, the camel set fire to the building together, all its contents. So Allah has Bava Kamah Daf. The owner of the camel is chayav to pay for the damage. The bachutz. But if the Baal goes, this is chayav. So yeah, what happened here? This gomel was loaded with pishtan, and he learned Rosh Hashanah. He went, some of his pishtan was sticking into the chanut that had this fire, and it had this candles, and it broke. And it caught on to the pishtan, and now the building broke down, burned down. So all it is, the balach hagomel is chayiv. Now, but if the storekeeper placed the lamp outside in the Rishus Harabim, so thereby causing the flax of the camel to catch fire, and now the building was set on fire, so then the storekeeper is chayiv. This is this. In a case where the lamp was outside of Nechag, which is a mitzvah, then the storekeeper's put there from liability is a mitzvah to place the lamp outside. Yeah. So the Gemara says, granted, according to the one who says that the liability of the damage caused by his fire is due to the similarity of arrows. So chitza of the gomel. So the fire in the store is similar to the arrows of the camel, and this is why the camel's owner is chayiv. The fire is not the fire of the Baal Gomel, it's the fire of the guy in the store. Here we're dealing with a case where the camel moved the building flax around and not his entire building, lighting one spot after another. In other words, the fire did not spread since the fire did not need to spread since the camel directly set the building on fire in each of those spots. Therefore, this case is comparable to that of the dog who moved the coals from one place to another. Now, if we're talking about a case, if we're talking about with the animal, with the camel ignited the entire building spot by spot, so then, on my fire, why is the storekeeper fire? His fire did not spread through the building. It was the camel that moved the fire from one place to another. So, where's the B'Shamda? Talking about where the camel did not move around, but stood in one place. Since there was an extremely large load of flax on his back, once it caught on the fire, you can have the entire building simultaneously. And we're asked, if if the camel stood moving without moving from place to place, but did shift from load on his back, and therefore ignited the entire building, so for sure the chemini should be put and the Baal Gamah is chayiv. So why was it necessary to tell me that? Or talking about cases where the camel stood still in order to go to the bathroom, and while doing so, set the building ablaze. In that case, into accident to the owner and not have moved the camel from the spot, as the owner could not have moved the owner from the spot. So the first case, the owner is chayiv, as he should have not overloaded the camel with flax to such a degree that extended out so far from the sides, so that could have caught fire and ignited the store. Safe but in the later case, the family is chayiv widely, and he should not have placed the lamp outside. Toshma, come on, bring your raya. Hamad is a godly if a person ignites a stack of grain, and there was a goat tied in that stack, and there was also a Canaanite slave adjacent to it, and was not tied to it. And both the goat and the slave were burned together with the stack of grain and killed. So chayiv, the person who ignited the fire, is chayiv to pay compensation for both the stack and the goat. But he's potter from paying for the slave because the slave could have run from the fire. That's the din. And the Ev is some of Nisav Imay, so chayiv. Now, however, Ev is kafus, the some of Nisav Imay, if the slave was tied to the stack and there was a goat adjacent to it was not tied, and the slave and the goat were burnt together with a stack of grain, so the one who ignited the fire is completely potter from payment for the damage because he's chayiv to receive, right? That
was the question. What's the difference?
So in the first case, when he's madlik to Godish, and now the Gedi was tied to the Godish, but the Eved was not, so he's chayiv for the Godish and the Gedi because it's a direct damage. The Eved could run away, but the Eved which is tied and the Gedi which is Samuch, and they all died. That he's patur. Why? Because he's chayiv. Because they have a din of Kolel midramini. This guy, anyways, is chayiv misa. So it says, according to the Mandam who says that Eish is mitzad chetzei, so I understand why he's patur for the damage of the stack of grain in the second case, because if it's as if he killed a slave with his arrows, so it becomes subject to the capital to misa. And one of the subject to misa, doesn't pay Kolel midramini. But if you say mitzad Rabbi that the Shlokish, the Eishim is from Memene, am I potter? Why is he potter? Ilu kotol to the Avda, the damage. So according to the one who says that the fire due to the Memene, so the Cheda, if his ox, which is his possession, were to kill a slave, would he not be chayiv to pay for the damage? He would be. Talking about where he lit the body of the slave on fire. Direct. And so he becomes a small fire right away. And the Kolel B'dramni, we see Kolel B'dramni. They want to marry the member. What is the purpose of saying this? What is Kiddush? Is it supposed to teach? The one who lit a slave on fire is obviously chayiv for murder. And we always say Kolel B'dramni. It says, talking about a state where the goat belonged to one person and the slave belonged to a different person. So in that case, you would have thought that since the payment is due to someone other than the owner of the murdered slave, he has to pay for the owner to the goat as well, despite his chayiv misa. Therefore, the Mishnah teaches that since he committed one act, he's chayiv a death penalty, and he's put from paying compensation even if it's somebody else's. Tashma, coming here from the Mishnah. A person who sets a fire, placing a burning object in the hand of a sheit to v'kotam. So pater from dini adam, b'chayiv b'dini shemayim. So he's pater from dini adam, b'chayiv b'dini shemayim, meaning that he would not be held chayiv in Beis Din, but nevertheless he remains responsible to pay for what he did. If you say that Eishon Sam Chetzi is similar to the arrows of a deaf mute, and this is why one who gave them the fire is pater. So if you say Eishon Sam Chetzi, so now it's a Chetzi the Chedish.
After you're done, I'll tell you a story about this.
Okay. So if you say Mitzad Eishon Mitzad Eishon Chetzi is the Chedish. Even most if you're going to go ahead and give it your shade of a cotton, a share you should be chayav, so you should be chayav here. Where it says taught this that he's putter the damage caused by a fire that he had entrusted in the care of the tzarech. Only a case where he conveyed a coal to him and the death means fanned the coal in the flame, then damaged. He gave him mamish a torch, then chayav my time because but is it for sure it's going to damage. If it's clear that the damage will be for sure, then it's like placing a goring ox under his care. Therefore, if one's liability of damage classified as fire is due to the similarity of damage caused by one's property, it should be chayiv. Rabbi says, "Afilu shall have his potter." Why? Because he holds that the death means handling of the flame that causes the blaze, and is therefore not similar to the case of chitzei. So, because he holds that the death means handling of the flame that causes the blaze, and therefore not similar to the case of chitzei, the one who conveys the fire has not become liable for the damage until he hands the death meat, chopped wood, kindling chips, and the lamp. As in that case, the damage will. It's obviously self-evident that as if he started the blaze himself. Eichman's opinion he is a pasuk and a messiah. What does the Torah say? The Torah says if a fire breaks, mashma teitzei ma'atzmi, the fire breaks out of its own. Then it says the pasuk says the one who ignited the fire shall pay. Indicating the fire was ignited by a person. We learn from here that one's liability of the damage caused by his fire is due to the similarity, the damage caused by his arrows, as the resolution of the apparent inconsistency of the pasuk is that it relates the individual as if he had himself started the fire. This is why. What does it say? Then it says Yisham Maver Sabida. It's mashma that he's chayiv. So Cheda has to do Misham Eish Misham Chitzi. Okay, so he says this. Mastisa, the Brisa. The Brisa supporting his opinion is as a thought. The Tanya we go to the Brisa. The pasuk says Pasach HaKosov. Teda opens the chiyuv. The Torah concerning liability of opened iniskamene with reference to damage caused by a person's fire. Because what does it say? Kisei mashma that the fire which has been made, it went and damaged. But see him, and then what does it conclude? Beniski gufe shalom yishalom amaver. I'm lost to tell you ishay mishum chitzei. The person's chayav for fire because it's like he threw an arrow. Okay, we'll stop here in this session.